Hello and welcome. This is going to be our homework help video for the homework titled Describing Patterns. Let's just jump right on into it with these first couple where we need to match the patterns with their descriptions. A good way to do a problem like this is to kind of take a guess at what the pattern might be and then look at the descriptions and see if maybe there's one that matches what your guess is. Another word for description would be a rule. A rule is like the mathematical formula for getting the next term in a sequence. And these, yes, it calls these patterns. I think an even better word for these patterns, because they're all numerical, would have been sequences. A little bit more precise mathematical language there. So let's just look at number one. I see it's counting up by twos. And I see that right there. Option C is a pretty good match. I might draw a line to match those, but ultimately I wanted you guys to record your answers down here. Let's look at what's happening to number two. It's definitely decreasing. It's decreasing by the same amount each time. It is. So I'll say it looks like it's subtracting 5 from each. Yep, that looks like it matches A. The next one, well, it went up by 3, but then it went up by 12. So it's not going up by a constant amount. So we're looking for a pattern that's probably actually multiplying. Let's see, I multiplied by 4, then I multiplied by 4 again. So yes, this is a multiplying pattern. Specifically, it's multiplying the previous number by 4. So 3 is D, which leaves 4 for B. So D, B, and B makes sense for number 4. All right, describe the pattern and draw the next 3 figures. I'll just do pattern 5. A good word to describe pattern number 5 is that this is an alternating pattern because it's going back and forth. An alternating pattern between squares and triangles. The next 3 figures in that pattern will be a square, a triangle, and then another square. So it alternates back and forth. All right, let's look at problem number 7. We'll skip 6. I'm not going to do every single problem. Number 7, a radio station plays the day's top songs in the afternoon at 2:10, 2:40, 3:10, 3:40, and so on. If you assume the pattern continues, when will you hear the top pop songs? It broke that question down into 3 parts. What is the relationship between the first time the song is played and the second time the song is played? We need to add, so I'm going to say this is my answer number 1. We need to add 30 minutes each time. Number 2, check the relationship is true for all of the playing times. Let's see. To go from 2:10 to 2:40. Yep, that works. 2:40 to 3:10. Yes, that's 30 minutes later again. Use the relationship to find the next time the song will be played. Well, it was played at 3:40. So 3:40, my answer for part 3, 3:40 plus 30 minutes. 30 minutes after 3:40 is 4:10. That is my answer. Part 3. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back side. Describe the pattern, then write the next 3 numbers. I'll do a couple of these so we can learn more good vocab words to describe these types of patterns. Number 8, a good word to describe this pattern. It's a doubling pattern. You can see we're multiplying by 2 each time. So we are doubling the value each time. So doubling is a good word for a pattern like number 8. The next 3 numbers would be 16 after I doubled that 8. If I double the 16, I get a 32, and if I double the 32, I get a 64, and then that pattern keeps going on. Let's see, another maybe tricky one. Maybe something like number 10. To go from 640 to 320, I could either divide or subtract. Well, let's see which one works for the next one. If I divide by 2, that would work. Do I get to 160 if I divide by 2 again? I do. If I divide by 2 again, I get to 80. So you could say this is a halving pattern because it's halving it each time, but that's not really a word. So we're going to say it's just a dividing by 2 pattern. The next 3 numbers would be 40, then 20, and then 10. Let's do 12 real quick. 12 goes 0, 11, 22, 33. What are we doing in 12? We're counting up by 11s. The next 3 terms in that pattern, let's see, we were up to 33, so it would go 44. Add 11, we'd get 55. Add another 11, we get 66. All right. Let's see, number 17, write the first 4 numbers of a pattern that start with 6 and repeatedly add 8. That was for number 17. So we start with 6, then we just repeatedly add 8. So I write the 6, write a comma, and for my next number, I add 8, and I get up to 14. Then I get up to 22. Then I get up to 30 after repeatedly adding 8. 18, there are 64 teams in the first round of a college basketball tournament. Each round after the first, there are half as many teams as in the previous round. How many teams are in the next 3 rounds? That's for number 18. So we start with 64. Each time everybody plays everybody, and half of them are eliminated, so we just divide by 2. After divided by 2, we get down to 32, then down to 16. Let's just keep this one going just to see that eventually we get down to the champion. All right. Describe the pattern, then draw the next figure. Maybe 20. Let's just end this with number 20. How would we describe that pattern? Well, let's just follow the shaded piece. How did it get from here to down there? It looks like this whole shape rotated. Way did it rotate? Rotated this direction, and we call this counterclockwise. How far did it rotate counterclockwise? Well, the shaded part went from bordering the top to bordering the right. In order for it to do that, it has rotated 90 degrees each time. Let's get the next 3 shapes. So we've got it to there. That shaded piece is going to rotate around to here in the next shape. Then it's going to rotate around to here. And then it's going to rotate around to one more shape. It's rotated counterclockwise to now fill in this piece over here. One thing that didn't come up in this homework is how we count our figures. Just so I go over it once in this homework, let me number off my figures here. This would be figure 0, followed by figure 1, followed by figure 2. If we do it this way, it makes a lot of other things work out a lot better. We start counting at 0. All right. Well, that's that for this homework. Hopefully this has been helpful. Have a good rest of your day.